How are you? My name is Peter. I'm making this video. I've made a few videos before, but I wanted to make this video on the Arizona Diamondbacks because I am a diehard Diamondback fan, and more, I'm a diehard baseball fan. I love baseball, and I thought making this video was going to be very important because the way Mike Hazen, our GM currently of the Arizona Diamondbacks, is doing moves is how baseball should be for the future. He is changing the game. If you really look at some of his moves and what he's doing, this is a strategic, fantastic GM, and we are lucky to have him after having guys like Dave Stewart. This guy is phenomenal. He really thinks about what he's doing, and he has made the Arizona Diamondbacks so much better for years to come. And thank God, because there's been some rough years in there, and there's been some great years, but not consistent years, and that's the big problem here. And I want to go over some of the moves that they're doing so we can kind of examine and break into it. So last year they traded Zach Greinke, right? Which, again, I was a big fan of Greinke, but I knew that had to happen because they weren't going to win whether they had him or not. They got rid of his contract, which was amazing on top of that. But just what they got back for him was even more phenomenal, right? So you got rid of his contract and you got yourself a couple of really solid ball players in minor leaguers. One guy who's having Tommy John surgery but has a potential to be bounced back. Even if one of them turned out to be really good, you made a fantastic move. Even if none of them turned out, you still made a fantastic move to get rid of the contract. It's just fantastic. But to be honest with you, 2 or 3 of those guys can work out really well. And Rojas is a hitter. He can hit, and you have Seth Beer coming up, who's another guy who can hit. So there's a lot to like about that move. So what that did was it bounced us back for this year coming up. So we had around $33 million to spend coming into this year. One of their big things they needed to do was get a pitcher and an outfielder. They needed help. Marte had a phenomenal year. However, I don't see him having the same amazing year unless he gets help. He's not going to be able to do that by himself, right? Because pitchers are going to pitch him differently. Escobar was fantastic. A lot of guys. So this is what he came into the season doing. He signed first Stephen Vogt, which already, you got to look at the move. Vogt had his bounce back year last year, coming off an injury, again, in a big ballpark like the Giants, and he hit very, very well, right? Only spent a few million on this guy, and he's going to do extremely well in Arizona as a backup to Carson Kelly. Guarantee he hits for around 280, 100%. After that, now you have around $31 million to spend, right? You only spent a couple million on this guy. And then you go out and you get Junior Guerrera, another guy from Milwaukee, where this is where Mike Hazen shines. He looks for these guys. He finds them for cheap contract. He does his homework, right? Whether this guy turns out to be good or not, it doesn't matter, right? It's only a few $1 million, but this is another small bullpen piece that he pieces together slowly, right? So you still have $28 million to spend. Now you're looking for a solid pitcher and a solid hitter. Here comes Madison Bumgarner. Madison Bumgarner, to me, is going to be a Cy Young within a couple years again. People continue to forget how amazing this guy is. They think his past years are behind him. It's not. He still throws 93, 94. He's never going to hit you at 100 miles an hour. The guy is just a smart pitcher. He will adjust to Arizona. He will adjust to being where he wants to be there with his wife. You're going to see the difference. The guy is a leader. He is at a very, very worst, he's going to bring this amazing energy to the pitching staff and this toughness, right? But on top of that, you guarantee maybe his ERA goes up a little bit, but you're going to see at least 18 to 20 wins from this guy, whether it's this year or next year. And people are all going to see the friendly contract that we got, and everyone's going to regret not signing him because a lot of guys are going for very expensive who are not even close to Bumgarner's resume. But on top of that, Bumgarner's making $6 million this year because everything's deferred. $6 million for this guy. So now, $6 million for Bumgarner. Stephen Vogt, a couple million. Junior Guerrera, a couple million. Right? So now you're looking at around, what, $11, $12 million with everything, right? Now, you went out today and you signed Kole Calhoun, which is another fantastic move. We're looking for a big hitter, right? But Kole Calhoun is the second part to this. He's 1A. He's going to hit you 30-something home runs. He has a gold glove, and he's a fantastic guy. And another plus is he kills the Dodgers, right? The guy's going to hit around 270. He's going to hit 30-something home runs. That's another outfielder. And you got him for, I think it was around $6 or $7 million. I can't. Look how amazing this is. Look at the contracts that he's signing. And he knows that money's coming off the board. I'm so sorry, excuse me. He knows that money's coming off the board next year with Yasmani Thomas getting that ridiculous contract that he had off. So you got Bumgarner, you got Kole Calhoun, you got Stephen Vogt, and then you got Junior Guerrera. And you still have a lot of money to spend. So what I'm saying is now if you trade Robbie Ray and you get rid of his $10 million, you go back up to $26 million to spend, or $25 million. That is insane. Think about that. You don't really need Robbie Ray. If you want to keep him, great. But to me, I don't think you need him. I think you trade him and you get the money off, and then you get yourself a big outfielder. We need a Marcell Ozuna, or for me, Castellanos is not as powerful as Ozuna, but the guy is a pure hitter, and you see what he did in Chicago. Another J.D. Martinez. Once you get out of a big ballpark, you see what happens. And he's going to have protection. That's the way I like. That's what I would do. You need to get somebody else. So now let's look at the lineup. You got Christian Walker, who came into his own last year when he finally played. Marte has to go back to second, right? The guy is just a terrific hitter. You got Nick Ahmed at short, who's consistent, and you got Eduardo Escobar, who's my favorite, who is just clutch as hell, and he's going to hit you 30 home runs. Right? We went over the catcher situation with Carson Kelly, who's a really good catcher, still going to hit you 20 home runs, mixed with Vogt, who's going to hit you 14 to 16 home runs, and bat great as a good platoon. Go to the outfield. David Peralta, bounce back easily. He was injured all last year. The year before that, hit 30 home runs. Go to Kole Calhoun. Again, we went over his 35 home runs. If he's going to hit it this year, he's going to have a great year, what brings all this energy. And then center field. You have so many options. You can bring Marte back to center field, which I'm not a fan of. Or you could do LaCastro, who I love. So you don't technically need to get a huge outfielder if you want to go that way with LaCastro, which I really think is a good thing. But again, you still need that J.D. Martinez type protection. Look what happened when we got J.D. You need a guy that they fear in the lineup. After that, you can go after a bullpen piece, which you need, whether it's Cishek or whoever they want to go after. There's a lot of options they could. But the whole point of this is that the Diamondbacks still have a ton of money, and they made nothing but fantastic moves. They didn't rush and go get Ryu. They didn't rush and spend a lot of money on Keuchel, right? Then, which is Keuchel's insane. So the money that they did, Hazen deserves the GM of the Year award. You know, I'm a very big fan in not spending all this money on different teams and on different players and spending, unless like a Garrett Cole, I can see why. But like sometimes like teams like the Yankees just throw money at it, and they didn't win when they did that. The minute they started changing their philosophy over the last couple of years, they started being more and more successful. Money doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win the championship. Look at the Dodgers, right? It doesn't mean you're going to win anything. So just as a Diamondback fan, I want to tell you thank you to Mike Hazen, because this is just how baseball should be. There's nothing worse than a fan feeling that you're rebuilding, because that just sounds bad, right? That's why he wants to make the team better and still get rid of the contracts. And you could do that, and that's what he's doing. And everybody's going to follow that blueprint soon. You'll see. Just for the fact that, as a fan, that's why no one shows up. If you see, they're rebuilding and they're bringing all these guys up and they don't care, they just want to wait, it sucks, right? Because you're just thinking in your head, it's going to take 3 or 4 years at least before they become good. Arizona dumped everybody, got rid of Goldschmidt, who was the huge fan favorite, and JD, which I wasn't a fan of. I loved him. I didn't want him to go. But they got rid of all these guys. They didn't re-sign JD, and they still became a really good ball club. Think about what's going to happen now with Bumgarner at the top of the rotation, right, with Gallen, and then Mike Leake in the back end of the bullpen, which is really good. They have a lot of potential coming up, and they have a lot of people in the farm system that they didn't have a few years ago. A big reason was 4 of them just came from the Greinke trade. So Mike Hazen, thank you. And for us Diamondback fans and for baseball fans, this is how baseball should be. I'm going to make another video soon, but thank you guys very much. Thank you for listening to me. Take care.